Several years back, I was the kind of guy that kept to himself, and I didn't have that many friends, and I didn't really participate in many extracurricular activities. And during that time, I was facing probably one of the most difficult portions of my life, and that was coming to terms with my own sexuality. And see, I feared that if I came out to my friends and family, I might be harassed or alienated or bullied. And there's the problem. See, many people struggle with their own sexuality, being able to come to terms, be able to come out to people, and with stories of families disowning their children and hate against the LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and non-heterosexual community, if you don't know the acronym. And with all of that, the world becomes a really frightening place. And then this fear goes unnoticed in American schools. See, LGBT students are harassed both verbally and physically, indirectly, directly. In fact, reported by the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network on the 2009 National School Climate Survey, 84.6% of LGBT students surveyed reported being verbally harassed, 40.1% reported being physically harassed, and 18.8% reported being physically assaulted at school in the past year because of their sexual orientation. So going back to when I was attending high school, I came across what I consider the bane of school environments. I'll give you an example. So every day during my lunch period, I would sit at a table full of 16-year-old boys, and I had to deal with listening to them send insults back and forth, such as faggot, homo, queer, and it pretty much disgusted me. And it was up until a point that one of my peers announced that all gays should be burned at the stake. And then he proceeded to claim that AIDS was the cure to gays. And to be honest, I was like confused. I couldn't believe that somebody would go out of their way to say something like that. And so by my junior year, I joined my school's Gay Straight Alliance and worked with them on an anti-bullying program as a group leader. And we gained the support of our principal. We ended up running a banner signing activity where we asked students to pledge that they would help stop bullying. And I mean, at first it didn't seem like we were going to get anywhere, but eventually it turned into a video project titled My Voice, My Choice. And this project took off unbelievably, and now it's used in all of the different schools in the district, and it ended up getting attention of the local news, and now it's being spread out outside of the community to local businesses in order to spread the message of anti-hate. And the one thing that shocks me to this day is that guy that told me that all gays should be burned at the stake is now one of the most supportive people I know. But while my school may have started the ball rolling on creating safe environments for all students, it still needs to happen nationwide. We need to crack down on anti-LGBT bullying, or else many innocent lives will be destroyed. Stated in the 1989 report from the Secretary's Task Force on Youth Suicide, gay, lesbian, and bisexual youth are 2 to 3 times more likely to attempt suicide than heterosexual youth. And you see suicide linked to bullying all the time. Like during April of 2009, an 11-year-old boy named Carl Joseph Walker Hoover ended up hanging himself with an extension cord after he was repeatedly taunted and called gay. I mean, even at that point in a child's life, you barely even know your own sexuality, and yet bullying drove him to his own death. And then in a similar case, in the town that I used to call home, Mentor, Ohio, a boy named Eric Mohad, who was 17 years old, ended up shooting himself after his fellow peers were labeling him names such as gay, faggot, queer, homo. And once the student told him to go home and shoot himself, he did. His father was quoted with saying it shouldn't require legal action to get a school system to pay more attention to bullying than it does its sports programs. How many suicides is enough? And what makes it worse is that this boy was being bullied in front of teachers with no intervention. With problems such as this running rampant, I've identified 3 different things that would help make schools safer for LGBT teens. 1, being student-to-teacher relationships. 2, being sexuality unbiased curriculums. And 3, being the acceptance of gay straight alliances and similar groups. From the beginning of their education, students should feel safe at the hands of their advisors. Um, School staff should be trained in a way that they can intervene and take action against bullying at the slightest sign so that no problem occurs, so that nothing slips by. Nobody can turn away from this. Classrooms should be labeled as safe zones. You can get stickers, you can get posters that say that this is a safe zone so that students know that they are safe and that bullying will not be tolerated. Heterosexual or homosexual, it doesn't matter. Teachers should be role models for their students. I mean, if you have teachers that only drill information and form no bond with their students, then the student will feel helpless if they need help with something, if they need to come to somebody to talk. Continuing, schools need to teach a curriculum that is unbiased to different sexualities. While schools are progressively beginning to teach material that involve characters and ideas of many ethnic, cultural, religious, and other groups, sexuality is often avoided. And because of that, many students have no exposure to the LGBT community, and that leads to them targeting insults and bullying towards something they know little about. Here's how I see it. If we push for the inclusion of lessons that involve LGBT history and issues, then non-heterosexual students will feel less alienated and heterosexual students will be more willing to accept differences. And recently, many groups have accepted October as LGBT History Month, including National Coming Out Day. Well, I've seen in many schools Black History Month being accepted and other history months being accepted, so why not have LGBT History Month involved? It would be a great way of creating lessons and such, and it would cause students to know more about a community that right now they don't know much about. The American Psychological Association explains that both heterosexual behavior and homosexual behavior are normal aspects of human sexuality. Both have been documented in many different cultures and historical eras. So if in early elementary school, if our children are taught that homosexual pairings are natural and acceptable, then later on there won't be as much hate speech, bullying, and hostility, because it'll just be a part of the norm. Lastly, as students get to the age of extracurricular activities, gay-straight alliances and similar groups need to be accepted in schools. They work as a safe zone for students. It works as a community. It works as a gathering that will help fight for safer environments, be able to get ideas across that normally wouldn't be talked about. They can have events such as National Coming Out Day, Ally Week, the Day of Silence. Gay-straight alliance groups are the type of gathering where anybody can join: gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and all of their allies. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is the fact that when you utilize these types of groups correctly, you can transform an entire educational environment like I did back in high school. In the end, it doesn't matter whether or not you're gay or straight or whatever. We're all human. We're all human, and we all equally deserve a safe education. And currently, not enough is being done in American school systems to protect, include, and involve LGBT students in their educational process. So what we need to do is we need to push these different systems in order to protect our coming generations. We need to be able to live in a world that thrives without hostility and bullying and all that. We need to live in a world where students aren't being driven to suicide, where students can flesh out their talents and be more productive in our world. I mean, if we all just unite, if we go hand in hand and work together, the future will be bright and lives will be saved. Thank you.